In a world filled with ones and zeros, gluten-free bread, small talk, and the color beige, there live among us a few brave souls who break the mold, irritating their neighbors, making a mess, playing pretend, and letting their imaginations fly free. They are the Creatives! They're here to answer a question so consequential that it transcends both space and time. And that question is, so when are you going to get a real job?
P.S. This interview was filmed over Zoom and may contain the occasional sound or video glitch. All complaints can be sent to the elders of the internet. P.P.S. In the event of adult content and bad language being used, cover your ears and sing la 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 la. And now, on with the interview.
Hello, Rebecca. Hello, Kimberly. Welcome to season 2 of So When Are You Going to Get a Real Job? We are very excited to bring you season 2. The only difference between season 1 and season 2 is that we have pre-recorded the footage you are about to see. Other than that, nothing has changed. We're real people talking to other real people, and we're having a real conversation. It's all real. Woo! Take it away, Kimbo.
Duane and Anton have been delighting musical theatre audiences for over a decade, performing both on and off the stage. Anton as a resident director, and Duane as a choreographer and dance captain. Both gentlemen were cast in the original South African production of Cats, Anton as Munkustrap and Duane as Corey Copat, as well as performing as the show's dance captain, a title which he also took up in the Andrew Lloyd Webber classic Jesus Christ Superstar, a show which Anton received his second Fleur de Cap nomination for his portrayal of Pontius Pilate. In 2009, Duane and Anton both starred in the Disney classic Beauty and the Beast, which landed Anton his third Fleur de Cap nomination for Best Performance in a Musical. When being cast in the original South African production of Rent, Anton worked alongside director and actor Anthony Rapp as the musical's resident director, as well as understudying the role of Roger, and Duane was cast as the show's titular character, Mark Cohen. In 2013, with Anton working on the directing team and Duane in the role of Bob Crew, Jersey Boys was enticing South African audiences and was responsible for Duane receiving a Fleur de Cap nomination for his performance. Both performers have worked on multiple productions of the hit musical Joseph and His Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, Anton in the role of Rock and Roll Pharaoh, and Duane as the 2016 show's choreographer, receiving him a SAT Mag and Broadway World Award for Best Choreography. And that is just a taste of the body of work that they've built up over the years. When they're not working tirelessly on shows, you will find them sharing their talents with the performers of the future. Musical Theatre Workshop, or MTW, has been running for 10 years and has been the highlight of many holidays for young people with a passion and love for musical theatre. And it's a safe place for them to learn the craft, perform, make like-minded friends, and most importantly, to have fun with musical theatre. And now we move on to their magnum opus, Lamta, the Duane Alexander Musical Theatre Academy. This boutique academy offers impeccable training that is tailor-made to fit the journey of each of their unique students and acts as the home to the stars and triple threats of the industry of tomorrow. And without further ado, here they are.
Hello guys, welcome to the show. We've decided to do a little bit of an icebreaker to get to know you. Are you ready?
Yes, bring it on.
Okay, question number 1. If you woke up completely fluent in one language, which one would you want to be fluent in?
I'd have to go back to my sort of mother's roots and say I'd love to be able to speak Italian like her father. So, you know, bit of that old Italiano.
You got the hang.
Yes, you know, like I'm not dramatic enough, like I need to now speak with my hands all the time as well. So,
yeah, I have tried to teach myself French and then Italian and then Spanish, not in that order, but all three of those languages. But I would say Spanish at the moment, only because I think it's so delicious and so passionate. But also because then I could watch Money Heist in its mother tongue, which I think is my favorite series at the moment. That whole gaggle of performers.
That makes a lot of sense. But what is it about all those sort of European languages, you know? If we were made any sense, we'd learn Mandarin and all of those subjects, you know, from a business perspective. But you know what? No. I'm going to be able to order a gelato when I am traveling in Italy.
There's nothing worse than trying to order a croissant and then you like sound like a tit.
Croissant. Croissant, please.
Yeah, actually Mandarin's a very good answer as well because, you know, it's just the business language of the world and because a lot of our shows nowadays go to China. So if you are an English Mandarin translator person in theatre, you're like gold. And I'm sure, you know, a lot of people would love to have you on their production teams.
A new subject offered at Lamta.
Sure.
Like
there isn't
in there between 7 and 8 in the morning. or 3 and 6 in the morning.
But you're absolutely right, you know. Sure.
Okay, next question. What would be the most helpful superpower for you to have in your career?
I don't play music at all. I mean, I dabble in a bit of guitar, although I haven't picked it up in years. But I would love to be able to play any instrument. Like if I could be a multi-instrumentalist and just go to a piano and just be able to play by ear and pick up a guitar or, you know, a riff on the drums or whatever it is. Like I'd love to be able to play any instrument. That would be a cool superpower.
I think my superpower would be working out what audiences want to watch next. Basically, what is going to fill the theaters? You know, most producers are like, I wonder what show I should produce. What are people loving? What are they going to?
Yeah.
Do I have to do The Sound of Music for the 6,524th time, or maybe I do this production? They'll come. So maybe they have a superpower to know what to put on the stage.
Mm-hmm. All right, next question. If you had to play one character from a musical for the rest of your life, which character are you playing?
Oh, geez, that is the most painful question. There's so many.
If I was, oh gosh, so many good ones. Go ahead.
Look, I think I've always wanted to give Javert from Les Mis a good go, good run for its money. I have always loved every production of playing Pilot in JC Superstar that I've ever done. But that's a bit of a depressing show. Not that Les Mis isn't. I don't know, maybe I'm stuck to doing, you know, slit or wrist roles for the rest of my life. But there's just something about the tragedy of those characters that I love as a performer. So I wouldn't feel bad playing those kind of epic characters for the rest of my life along those lines.
Such a cruel question. For the rest of my life, just the one role.
The rest of your life.
Oh gosh.
We might be here a whole day.
Yeah, it could be the whole day. I mean, I played some already that I really loved, but I couldn't play them my whole life because they're too exhausting. Good Lord. I think, you know what, I think I'm going to be a little bit boring, although vaguely controversial because I'd never be able to play it. But to play Aaron Burr in Hamilton, I think would be so delicious. I think to be a part of it is that mega successful from a critical and a box office point of view, and from a sort of a public point of view, but also just to have those moments on stage that are so deliciously sort of full of the drama and full of that angst and I just think it's such a beautiful show from every department. So to be part of it would be a blessing, but to play Burr, I think, you know.
Clearly nothing light and fluffy happening here on this side of the mouth. But anyway, you know,
I also love a good cry. So if I could play Evan Hansen, you know, if I could play Evan Hansen every night, you know, and just have that snot and trana, it'd be very cathartic. I might get a wreck afterwards.
You might run out of tears.
Might run dry. So many good roles though, so many delicious musicals. Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, next question. It's a little bit easier. What is the funniest TV show ever made?
Oh, come on, you love all these comedies left, right and centre that you make me watch, so you can answer that.
I mean, for my sense of humour, I'm a big Modern Family fan. I love Modern Family. I think the writing is so quirky and I love that style, that sort of mockumentary thing. And I'm always torn between, is Phil Dunphy my favourite or is Cam my favourite? Or, you know, like so if I need to pick me up, a good episode of Modern Family does the trick for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've tried my luck, or I've tried I've tried Schitt's Creek, I've tried Modern Family, I even went back to episode 1 of Friends. But if I really need to have a laugh, it would probably be at someone else's expense. So I think I like things like Jackass or Impractical Jokers, or, you know, I love going onto Facebook and watching those videos where and there's one in particular where this guy keeps doing these tricks on his grandmother. I mean, she looks like she's about 100. He scares her left, right, and center with the kind of, I mean, I don't know if you've seen this, sort of lad Bible, like the guy from England and his wife, you know, they take chances, embarrassing the crap out of each other with, you know, all sorts of things. So that's more my sense of humor. I'm a bit like a caveman who beats someone over their head with a big stick and laughs.
Primitive.
Primitive. But so that's my sense of humor.
I mean, mine's not much more sophisticated, but you know, I think there's a little. Yeah, exactly. There's a little more sophisticated.
Was it scripted at least?
That.
Next question. What is your all-time favorite dessert?
Ooh.
Well, I'm going to claim this one because I like making it and I think it's most delicious. It's an eaten mess, but it has a of,
Oh, don't give away the secret ingredients.
I won't give away the secret, but it's got a combination what's way more exciting than any strawberries and cream and meringue than you can ever imagine. So every Christmas when we go to have our big sort of semi-Italian all the mafia family members put together in one room, they always demand that it's the Christmas pudding, but then it's got to be the Anton Duane special eat and mess vibe. And it is absolutely to die for. I mean, I would even have it in the middle of winter. So that's my vibe.
I would say delicious, but it has to be moist and hot Malva pudding. Malva pudding with custard. Oi, you got me.
You can see we've had a lot of that in lockdown.
No, you haven't. Last question. What is a skill that you still have yet to master?
Anything to do with dancing. That's me. I might have done a production of Cats in 2001, but that's about the ceiling in my dancing. I mean, I think I was in the Z team in the production of Cats that we did. Me and a few of my co-stars who I won't mention, but we refer to ourselves as the Z team. And the fact that we actually traveled the world getting people to pay money to watch me do this was it's a sin. It's a sin. But yeah, dancing I think will always be my skill that I'm yet to do anything with, really. But that's me. What about you?
What about me? I feel like I can't use the playing an instrument thing again, you know. I would love, but I mean, I would love to be like a proficient piano player, like be able to even sight read, obviously, is a skill in itself, but also just sit down and just go play that song, you know, by ear and just, you know, just be completely proficient and comfortable and at home on a piano. You know, the best I have is a couple of warm-up exercises, which I've used and learned over the years. But yeah, it takes me about an hour to decipher one page of sheet music, which is embarrassing. But yeah, I would love to play, particularly the piano, but any musical instrument with like absolute like professionalism.
Basically are a perfect match. The one dances and the one plays piano. There you go.
To do what the other person can do. That's quite.
I think it's been one of the salvaging things about our relationship, which is been going for a very long time now. But is that it's yin and yang. You know, we've always balanced each other. We've never competed for the same kind of roles. We've always been able to bring very different things to a creative process. So yeah, it's been. I think that's one of those blessings that we've had, certainly professionally and in our relationship, is that we're very much opposites.
That is it for our icebreaker. Thank you very much.
That was fun. Yeah.
Yes.
Moving right on, how are you guys really doing? We want the honest answers.
Okay. From a personal or a professional point of view? Both. A combination.
Both, yeah, combination.
All right, I'll kick us off in saying that on a professional basis, we couldn't be happier. We couldn't be busier, for sure. But, you know, in a world that has come to a bit of a standstill from the creative point of view, and, you know, this theatre sort of dormant, theatre's dark all over the world, and a lot of educational institutions unable to sort of continue doing what they do from the very beginning, actually. We were very lucky with the timing because we went on a holiday just as sort of lockdown started. Then we extended our holiday by a little bit so we could try and ride the storm. Of course, the storm carried on for much longer than anybody anticipated. But, you know, we used that time to completely rework our schedule and our timetable and took our entire curriculum online, like lock, stock, and loaded barrel. There wasn't a single class that the students were deprived of, or, you know, we couldn't put into an online format. Obviously, some are more difficult than others. You know, ensemble singing is in terms of trying to do that.
Yeah.
And, you know, doing a dance class, when people have got small spaces, they're dancing in bedrooms and bathrooms and kitchens, you know, it's difficult. But, you know, we found creative solutions to all those problems and we just rolled with the punches. And yeah, we saw some incredible results. Like, who would have known? Who would have thought? You know, in fact, there's so many good things that came out of that online curriculum we created that we might even implement them as part of our regular life going forward. So that's really heartwarming. We saw some amazing progress and amazing breakthroughs in a lot of our students. So, and then since we've come back to Lamta, we're doing a hybrid at the moment. So we have 1 year group, like 1/3 of our academy in the building, doing the ensemble singing and their dance classes and the classes that take priority in terms of being in the same room with your lecturers and your fellow students, but then the rest of it's still online. So, but that also took a lot of work. So, you know, in terms of like, I mean, you know, yeah, I spend my entire weekend scheduling really, you know, and working out the timetable and adjusting things and fixing tutorial times and making sure everyone gets a little bit of everything. So, but yeah, the outcome of that has been that our students have not wanted for anything, you know. Initially, they wanted each other and they wanted to be at Lamta and they were kind of, you know, emotionally and mentally struggling, but certainly we kept them busy and we kept them stimulated and we kept them in training, which is what they were paying us to do. And it helped us keep our lecturers in pocket as well. You know, we didn't have to turn around to them and say, sorry, there are no classes and you can't teach. You know, we were very lucky and very creative, and it's a really good time to be doing that because there's very little else, you know, in terms of being a professional, in terms of people who've just graduated. It's kind of, you know, it's all a bit scary and a bit stagnant, but yeah, we knuckled down and kept our training going.
I think as, you know, as two people who have to set an example to our students, to our lecturers, it is essential that we made something out of a difficult situation and showed them that, you know, theatre's been going for hundreds and hundreds of years. People have always told us it's dying. It has never died. It has gone through some very, very, very hard times, but then it's also blossomed. And, you know, I think our focus from the very beginning of this is, here is the challenge. How are we going to show everybody who we care about, i.e. our students, our lecturers, our business, that you've got to be creative in times where if somebody's, you know, not coming to you and saying, hey, please come be in my show, what are you going to do? You're going to say, well, listen, no one's coming to me, so what am I going to do to be creative? And so we've turned this whole thing on its head and we've emphasized things like choreograph, write a poem, compose a song. What are you doing in this time where no one's employing you? What you should be doing is coming up with creative ideas to solve the problem. So for us, it's been a case of how do we solve a problem? For the students, it's been, let me celebrate my creativity. Let me, you know, one day if I'm in the business and no one's coming to me, let me have the sort of balls, the ingenuity, the entrepreneurial ability to write something to take to a festival, to write something to enter into a competition, to compose a song for somebody who's you know, in the pop industry. Let me, whatever it is, I think, you know, it's about going back and understanding that the phone's not always going to ring. Sometimes you need to put the firecracker under your own ass. And so we've used this opportunity to really emphasize the importance of being a creative person, not just waiting for someone to come and direct you, but to bring things to the floor in which, you know, you can then create your own opportunities. It's all really great to say we're a performing arts college and to focus on the person on the floor. But, you know, people, we all know that the arts chooses you. We all know at the end of the day that, you know, you get born into the arts, and what it is that you're going to end up doing in the arts, whether you're a PR person, whether you're a director, whether you know, somebody who designs, whatever it is, just being a part of the arts fills your soul. And I think it's really important to tell students, even those who are wanting to be performers, that, you know, you don't know what your journey is going to be. You don't know where this is going to take you. You might discover by being given a responsibility to create props for a show here that even if you were planning on being a performer, you might fall in love with the ability to create something that an actor gets to use that you actually made with your own hands, and that makes you just feel things that you never ever thought that you would, you know? So I think it's our duty as creatives to introduce other elements of the performing arts, the business side of arts to everybody, so that they've at least had a taste of what it entails. And then they realize actually the world of the arts is a big, 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 wide world and an exciting one. And again, you know, then you take the blinkers off, because if you're just about, you know, what role am I going to play? Is it the lead role? You tend to forget about this huge, huge kind of machine, that is the arts.
That literally makes my heart so happy, even just from a teaching perspective. I mean, I was speaking to Kim about it earlier. You just never know, you know, you're molding these little lives and these little minds, well, in my case anyway, and you just never know whether they have a future in this industry. So to know that you are teaching them the value of everything around them is so, so important. Yeah, it just makes me really happy.
part of why we have those subjects here at Lamta, because we really want to, sort of honor the tradition of theatre and also garner a respect for, how it all works, and for them to have an appreciation of the fact that, they arrive there and their costumes are fresh and laundered and it's on their, in their dressing table waiting, but they, until they've done a wardrobe module with us here, which, we do for over 6 weeks or whatever it is, they go through the whole thing of like learning how to sew their own buttons and learning how to design a costume and learning how to budget for that costume, because everyone also has a complete misunderstanding of how expensive that department is, and then yes, acknowledging that there is dressers who come in and, laundry who come in at 9 o'clock and do all the washing and ironing, and then dressers come in and preset your things, and, then you get into a costume, and, it's just like teaching them the etiquette and to have, an appreciation for every cog in the wheel, because, it's very much an inclusive machine, like Anton said.
Yeah.
And it's important that they, that they leave here feeling an appreciation and an understanding how that all works.
Yeah, it sounds very hug-a-tree. But I mean, our ethos in a sense is we want to make you a better performer, but we also want to make you a better person. And I think that this integration of understanding your contribution to the arts as a person and the humanities, and understanding what it is that you need to fulfill, what makes your heart happy, is a really important part of your training. It's not just about what subjects do you take and what marks do I get on the board. It's so much more. It's about who are you becoming as a person, and what individual stamp are you putting on this thing that you love so much? So it's a huge big ball of mixture of all sorts of things, So it's a big responsibility.
At the end of the day, people want to hire people who have respect and have kindness and who are appreciative of the arts. You don't want to hire a jackass.
Absolutely. I mean, another large part of what we do at Lamta is, expose our students to guest speakers and guest lecturers, and, we do modules with certain lecturers, and some of them just come in for, an hour and just share. But without exception, and we're talking about people across the board, from, guests we've had from New York to, someone around the corner like David Cromie, who lives just over there, I can see his house, they've all said, be a nice person. Nobody wants to work with a douche. Be a good, nice person, and have respect for yourself, have respect for your fellows, and have respect for the industry, because that's, there's no room for that ego and for all that other rubbish. So be a good person, be a nice person.
Sure. So it sounds like you guys have been busy. On a personal level though, what's happening? Are you okay? Are you coping? What's going on?
I think like everybody, you miss your peeps. You miss being able to, I didn't realize, actually I did realize, our lives at one stage were very much, Lamta dominates our lives, and we try and find opportunities to spend time with each other and with our families and with our friends. So inevitably what would happen is that you would have a busy day at Lamta, and then you'd go, what is the social calendar? Oh, we're meeting this one for dinner tonight, and we're going to watch a show with the Few Gods tomorrow night, and after that, we're visiting your godson, and all that kind of stuff. So you've taken all of that out of the equation, and I think like everybody, we're just missing that sense of, not socializing, but being able to just, hug the people that are close to you, your friends, your nephews and nieces and family and stuff, and
also traveling was a huge part of our lives. It has been ever since we've known each other. That's how we met. Traveling shows, we did it for 15, 16 years, and even now, even though Lamta's running, we usually go away June, July on a sort of a working holiday. We go and take our other enterprise, which is musical theatre workshop. We take that to normally Singapore and Hong Kong and sometimes New Zealand, and we obviously couldn't do that this year. So while we're doing those workshops, and it is work, we also get to travel and see the friends we've made over there in that time. So we've missed that chunk of our lives this year, and that does feel very strange. But it's kind of, it's all been filled with Lamta. Lamta has demanded a lot more of our time. Anyone who's done online teaching, I'm sure you guys have both experienced as well, it is very time consuming. You spend hours preparing, then you have to do the physical teaching, and especially if you're doing dance over Zoom or online, I know our sort of method has been to do a lot of recording. So then as a dance teacher, you're sitting up until like wee hours of the morning, critting and watching videos to give them feedback. And amazing, the feedback is personal and very much interactive, but it's still very time consuming. So personally, I'll be completely honest and say I'm exhausted because Lamta is like, 24/7, literally.
Like any business that starts off, they always say 3 years. I mean, for us, it feels like it's going to be 9 years, but the reality is, what I just couldn't comprehend when we were in lockdown was how quickly the day goes by. You would wake up probably a little bit later because now you've got nowhere to go really, and everything happens from your home or your room, and there's no studio, there's no office or whatever, and before you know it, it's lunchtime and you blink again and you're preparing supper. So time just whizzes by so fast.
Had to have that 5 o'clock nap, when the academy day finished. I finished my last class at 5 o'clock and I needed a little nap, I have to be honest, before I even thought about dinner or the next thing. But yeah, it was exhausting.
So time really flies, and I think, you realize just how important it is to actually take time out to do things like, go on a dinner date or take a weekend holiday, or, to just zone out and to just completely remove yourself from what your reality is. And I think that was also one of the hardest things for our students, was being able to differentiate between what is home, what is an online class, where is my homework time, where is my chill time. It all just merged into one. And I think that personally for me, it just feels like, trying to compartmentalize different parts of one's life when everything is just in this ball of continuous what's happening next. And that's been the hardest thing. But we're fine, we're still getting on, we haven't killed each other.
No.
We made sure our desks are wide apart here. So, we always say we sit a sword's length apart from each other. So, because we do live in each other's pockets, but it's been good. And I think I look at a lot of people that have gone through a lot of suffering and that have lost family, that have struggled with their businesses, that are just really finding it hard to make ends meet. And I'm just very grateful, I think, that we're in a good space, and very, very lucky in a sense to have started Lamta when we did, because if we had waited any longer, we would have been in the shoes of many of our colleagues who were enjoying very, very long running tours overseas, and that just came to a sudden end, a very abrupt end. And I think it's also made you realize the importance, and again, another thing we're passing on to our students, the importance of saving, the importance of having a nest egg, the importance of looking to the future, especially as artists, and saying, I've got to put a certain amount of money away every month.
Just manage myself.
Yeah, manage
your
yourself.
Finances,
yeah,
manage your
because
expectations.
You never know when the next COVID's going to come, and you don't ever want to be in a position where I had nothing to show for my 5 years on the ships. I had nothing to show for the 5 years that I was on the tour of Matilda. Where is all of that money? So I think it's about being responsible, and starting to think about those things. It's become a very, very important part of being a performer.
Definitely. Do you also find that now, because everything has shifted online, you're experiencing a new kind of exhaustion? Like you're just kind of wanting to separate yourself from the internet and from your cell phone and from your laptop and just everything. And yeah, how do you cope with that?
Screen fatigue is a real thing, and I know initially everyone was kind of really gung-ho about we should have Zoom parties and we should have quiz nights and family reunions, and I mean, all of that is really wonderful, and it has given us a new opportunity to do those things and connect with people from all over the world. I mean, we've done some of those amazing sort of reunion shows, and it has really been, especially because I'm a big sentimental sop, so I've loved being able to connect with friends and ex-colleagues and from old shows and stuff. But now, 5 months down the line, when someone says, let's jump onto Zoom, I'm like, oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I think Zoom has changed the world for the better in terms of, why do I have to fly to Joburg to get a bunch of board members together to have a meeting? I mean, for Pete's sake, just save the sky and the air and the pollution, and just get everyone onto a Zoom meeting and get it done in 10 minutes. So I think certain things will definitely shift, but certainly in our business, there is no world in which, everything can be taken online. It's just such a one-on-one, intimate, live space performance. And as Duane says, when my social life starts to be dictated by Zoom, I really want to kind of, just scream. So I'm happy to do work on Zoom, but,
and initially as well, all these amazing things that were available online to watch, streaming concerts and stream productions and performances and stuff, I was going moggy. I was like, I don't know which way to go. There's this happening at the same time as this, and just like felt so torn. And that has obviously all calmed down now, but even though it's been wonderful and we've managed to revisit some shows that we have seen live and absolutely loved, it has made everyone realize, I think, that there's just really nothing like theatre. Nothing like live theatre. I mean, Peter Turin has been agonizing over when to open up this theatre, and if he opens up now, it's got to be socially distanced, and what sort of environment and what sort of atmosphere is that for the audience? And he's like, he just refuses. He'd rather just ride it out and until we can all be in the same space, safe obviously, but like, with masks and sanitizers and whatever, a quick COVID test or whatever, the plan is, rather have people there where they can get a drink from the foyer and they can sit close to their family and enjoy the show. And a show of more than 2 people, because that all makes it very tricky.
And for the actors as well. I mean, I think there must be nothing worse than having, like 5 or 10 people sitting here and there and whatever. You just can't really, that whole relationship between audience and actor, which is so pivotal, is just completely strange,
So I think everyone's dying to get back to that, it's going to be a beautiful day when we can sit in the theatre and just, hear the sound of real applause and real laughter in time, not delayed.
So I want to know, what is a show that you would love to come to SA, but you know for sure that it would work?
That would work.
You know what? It's really, really tricky, because I have always, in a sense, been under the impression that the South African audience needs to be educated in terms of musical theatre, and I've always felt like, guys, really, does it have to be Grease again? Does it have to be Rocky Horror again? Does it have to be Sound of Music again? Does it have to be Mamma Mia again? And it's frustrating as a performer, but I also know that, from the perspective of the producers, it doesn't help taking a big fat risk on something that, is popular in New York or popular on the West End, and then comes here and nobody buys into it. We always tend to have to put something on here that people will definitely know the title, Dirty Dancing. It doesn't matter whether it's a good or a bad show, it's Dirty Dancing.
It's commercial.
Everybody's going to come and see it. So from my perspective, I just kind of wish that, and I do think that a lot of our, the audiences that come to theatre have traveled, they are aware of the shows that are out there. But I also feel like we've got such a diverse population that, in a sense, you also want to bring something that everybody can share in. And I think that that's why The Lion King did so beautifully. Is it was such a very demographic in the stalls, at least. So one wants to feel like, what is that? What is something that we as South Africans can, enjoy together? And again, probably nothing that's out there, and until we start writing our own stories and, celebrating South Africa, you're going to have either a very Eurocentric kind of show that comes here, or, and again, that is what musicals are, I suppose, in their essence. So it's a very good and it's a very difficult question.
But what is the answer, Anton?
Yes, what is the answer? Look, I don't think it's anything that's currently, popular, because that's the other problem is that, we don't get those kinds of shows until they at least start doing, international tours to Australia and things like that, then maybe we get a look-see. But is there anything that jumps out to you? Let me think.
Only because I think it is such a beautiful story and it has universal appeal, I think. And we have so much talent, it just needs to be nurtured, especially in the younger kids. I think something like a Billy Elliot. I've always loved Billy Elliot as a musical. And I think, it might need a slight revision in terms of maybe the context. I'm not saying colloquialize it, although that would be amazing. But, just to kind of, just the story about a young boy who wants to follow his dreams, and he comes from this very different background, where the dad and the miners, they don't understand him. We have all that landscape, we have all that stuff, and, just to change it up a little bit and make it more accessible, I guess, would be incredible. But as it stands, it is still just a beautiful show, and I just think, it's so heartwarming. I mean, I remember watching it in London, Anton and I went many, many years ago, and I think I cried from beginning to end. And I didn't really know the show, so it was a complete sort of like, it took me by surprise. But it's just such a beautiful, heart-wrenching, gem of a story that has got all these universal themes, and it's just, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
really
I think we
special.
watch it every time we go there. You know, it's just when it's showing. But okay, I kind of have the answer for you from my perspective. I think we need to start to introduce the Cameron McIntosh musical ilk into South Africa. And, you know, one obviously goes straight away. It's got to be the Bluebell and Schomburg. So it's got to be Miss Saigon. It's got to be Les Mis. You know, there's no question that those shows would be incredible here. But I think in order for us to ultimately do a Les Mis or to do a Miss Saigon, we've got to look towards Cameron McIntosh's kind of smaller shows first. And I think something like an Oliver will knock the socks off audiences here. I think it will celebrate the immense amount of young talent that we have, and you guys will both know that there is stacks of that. You know, and it will also, for us from a musical theatre workshop perspective, be very exciting. So I would say Oliver and Mary Poppins, you know, starting to sort of get those kinds of shows going, which would involve obviously, you know, Peter talking to somebody like a Cameron McIntosh and saying, listen, you know, let's do it, which will then hopefully lead to bigger shows like the Les Mises and stuff. So I think, you know, it's, again, as Duane said, it's about nurturing our younger talent. And we have done it. I mean, you know, we've proven it. We've proven it with Matilda. We've proven it with Sound of Music, with Annie. The young talent is there. I think boys is always an issue. Like, you know, it's about more boys, you know, because the problem with something like Oliver is you need 12 boys, if not 16 boys on stage, and then you need 3 casts of them. You know, so you're talking about like 32 boys. Now, where on earth do you find 32 boys in the theatre? You know, so you'd have to do like they do in London, a Billy Elliot school or an Oliver school, where you get, you know, these young boys really interested in the concept of being involved in a big show and starting to train them and nurture them for the skills that are required to put on big shows like that.
So it sounds like, I mean, obviously I'm not a theatre maker, so there's so much that goes into bringing shows to South Africa. I mean, I didn't even think that you needed 3 casts. It's just not something that is on your kind of radar. It sounds like a lot that goes into shows.
And that, especially when you're working with kids, you know, really adds to the budget of it all. You know, like GWB were ingenious when they created the Matilda that went on tour, because they managed to, you know, redefine what it was and have some of the kids' roles played by young adults who looked young enough, small enough, and it worked. You know, as long as you had your Matilda and a handful of her friends played by young kids. But when you think that for each kid you need a supervisor or, you know, guardian and then tutors, you know, it just exponentially increases your budget. So shows with kids are notoriously tricky and notoriously expensive. But there are newer models coming out, you know, where sometimes there isn't a guardian for every child. You have like a matron who looks after 6 kids, you know, and then that way it makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, the economics of it, the detail of putting a tour together. I mean, I think what people need to think about and remember is that you can't really do a standalone big name, big show, big title musical in South Africa. You can't bring Cats here and then go, oh, well, that's wonderful. It had a season in Joburg, it had a season in Cape Town, and send it all back. You know, it just doesn't make financial sense. So Peter has, you know, put together, along with people like Paul and Hazel Phelps and all of that, this wonderful model of, you know, which has allowed South Africans to tour internationally, for us to feel like we ought to show the world that we've got the talent as any other part of the world that really celebrates musical theatre has. But to be able to say, well, look, we can now take this production of Cats and we can give it wings, you know. But then that does mean that all of a sudden you've got to start thinking about what is it going to take? I mean, to put the minds and the budgets together, and you've also got to remember that theatres don't just have space. You know, you've got to have planned exactly where this is going to go and how the puzzle works. So if you go from Cape Town to Manila, and maybe then from Manila you go to Singapore, when is that space available?
It's a huge logistical,
absolutely complicated process, which is wonderful, because that means that is also a job in the theatre for somebody who goes, you know what, I'm not a performer, but how amazing would it be to be an executive producer on a show, and, you know, to work out where to take the actors and, how do we get the freight and the shipping from Cape Town Harbour to make sure it's in Singapore by this date so that you've got your 3 days to build. It is so complicated. And you said it yourself. You don't often think about what goes on. And that's why we love taking audience members behind the scenes sometimes, because they're bowled over by what happens behind the little space that they watch for 2 hours, and they kind of go, what, do you mean there are more people back here than there are on stage? How does that work? Well, obviously, for every one actor, there's a makeup artist and there's a dresser and there's, so it's great to give people some of that insight sometimes.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I want to know, maybe this question is not really pertaining to Lamta, but maybe as performers, have you guys ever thought, no, I can't do this anymore?
I think one of the things that always worried me as a young actor was what is going to happen one day when I'm an old actor. And I mean, I guess when I meant old, I meant, I look at some of the really dear, wonderful actors that I've worked with that have been in their 70s, 60s, and have been lucky and privileged enough to still have a career in the theatre. And I think it's a fear that any actor has is, how long is my longevity going to be? And that's why we always stress this whole lemon triple threat thing. It's not just about, I'm a triple threat, look how much I can do. It is very much about, I'm a triple threat so that I can do as much as I need to do in order to keep working and opening doors for myself. And I think for both of us, one of the things that we did really early was to keep thinking ahead, was to keep thinking a step ahead, and to go, as wonderful as it would be for us to say, we are performers that travel the world and our lives are about packing up our bags and living a nomadic life. And believe me, there's nothing more exciting than, doing a performance in China and being on the Great Wall of China one day and saying, hey, look where we are, how amazing. And then going and performing for audiences. I mean, it's such a privilege, but the reality is that at some stage that's going to stop. And I think that, I think at one stage we just said, well, I've got to put on my big boy panties now, and I've got to think about what am I doing for my future. And somehow the world has very kindly allowed us to do the shift from being somebody who studied the craft, who went into performing the craft, who went into becoming management and being creatives like resident directors and choreographers and working on the other side of the curtain, and then taking that even a step further and becoming a director of a teaching college. And I think it's always for me personally been a case of not, I'm not enjoying this, what else can I do, but being a case of what else must I do to ensure that I'm not only looking after my future, but that I am sharing this wonderful experience and this wonderful privilege that I've had learning about this craft and from the people that I've had the privilege to teach me and passing it on. Yeah.
Do you also think that, as you get older, priorities change and, maybe the touring life is not for you anymore. You want to spend more time with family, or you want to purchase a home. And
that is reality for a lot of our colleagues, and especially when they've done like maybe 2 or 3 contracts back to back and they've been away and they've missed, special birthdays or, friends' weddings, etc., etc. And that certainly has happened to us, but we also are in a very unique and blessed position that we had each other on tour as well, and so it's very different when you're traveling and getting to experience the Great Wall of China or, any part of the world with your friend and partner, so it's a bit difficult for us to answer from our perspective because we had it very lucky and we have had it very lucky. I completely acknowledge and empathize with many of our colleagues who kind of like, it's been great, it's been fun and I've loved it, but I miss my husband or I miss my wife or my boyfriend or whatever, or my kids. And they make the hard call to say no to the next big contract because they would, need to spend some time back home. But, hopefully we get to a place where, we have 5 or 6 shows running concurrently in South Africa, 3 in Joburg, 3 in Cape Town. There's enough audience for all those shows. There's enough to go around and we can fulfill, our quota of performers in this country working and maybe, able to provide for their families and create a nest egg for themselves, purely working in their own country. Of course, the touring is amazing and it's great, but it has its downsides, it has its negatives.
It's a very, very good time for young performers who are coming out of college and are able to take up these long contracts in places like China, in places like, you know, Asia Pacific, especially those territories that are craving musical theatre, and to say, you know, for the next 5 years, I'm going to see the world, I'm going to make a packet full of money, and I'm going to then bring that home, and I'm going to start a family or buy a house or whatever. So I think, yeah, I think it's very exciting for young performers to know that I can come out of college and accept a job like this that most perhaps slightly older musical theatre performers won't take up because of their families, or they want to have children or whatever. So I think in a sense it's become a great leveler, whereby somebody who is coming into the industry feels like there is a place for them to, you know, to start off, and that it's not just about how am I going to get into this you know, this industry, because more and more it's becoming, oh well, listen, the tour to China is now 8 months, and then, oh no, hold on, actually it's just over a year. And so it's the kind of commitment that a lot of professionals who are names in the industry are not really prepared to make anymore, when they start to realize, as you said, the priorities in life are actually much more than just touring. It's about those things that are going to matter eventually, like, you know, my family, children, where I live, my quality of life, and all that kind of stuff.
It's interesting that you say you're on the same level now. I mean, Kim and I often bring it up in these chats that we almost feel like lockdown has become a sort of reset for everyone. And it's like, you know, you've got Rob van Vieren sitting at home. He also doesn't have a job. You know, what is he doing? We're now on the same level as everyone else, where you thought you couldn't kind of get a foot in the door, or you couldn't get into an audition. I feel like, yeah, everything's just level now. Everyone is equal. Everyone is able and should be willing to, you know, put in the work, get yourselves out there, kind of make an effort. I don't know, more.
I think after spending 5 months at home with your families, everyone's dying to go on tour. So, you know, it's a really good time to like get into a touring production. But, you know, those will still take a little while to open up, I think, you know, because it's just such a huge advance. You know, you've got to make sure that you have an audience to go over to whatever country you plan on doing the show. So, and then like we just mentioned, the logistics of that is quite tricky. But yeah, you're right. You know, the playing field has been leveled a little bit.
We say that it's going to be like, your first audition is going to be like the Hunger Games, where everyone take each other out, because everybody from like the best person for the job to the newbie are all going for the same job, because this is the only job there is. So it's going to be a bit like, you know, whereas before lockdown, yes, exactly. Before lockdown, it was a case of, oh, well, I don't have to stress because all my competition are on this tour of this, and that person's on this tour of this. There's no more talent left in South Africa because everybody's in 5 different international productions. So now I can show them, you know, use me, but the opposite would have happened now. So I think it's going to be tough, but I don't think it's going to be long once we get over this before, again, the tours are out, and, you know, we're always looking for talent. And that's, in a sense, why Lamta was born, for this need to create triple threat performers who are able to give us, you know, bring a standard that international creative teams were looking for in these productions.
I want to know, completely off topic, what is the most embarrassing thing you've done during your lockdown?
During my lockdown?
Most embarrassing. You guys pull out the pearlers. I'm trying to think. So boring.
I think nothing was really embarrassing during lockdown, because it all just happened in my room, really. You know, I just, you know, probably the worst is going outside to, I don't know, take the rubbish out or fetch something, or go up to the shop looking like, you know, if nobody, I should bump into nobody that I know right now, because I just actually couldn't have given, you know, 2 hoots to actually make myself look decent to leave the house. But in lockdown itself, yeah, not so much. I mean, my embarrassing things really are just about, you know, like things I did that made me come across like a total tit on stage. You know, those are always, you know, as an actor, I think you're always about your stage stories and your stage dreams that you have. Those ones where you wake up in a sweat and just, it's that recurring theatre nightmare that you have. I think those are my most embarrassing. I mean, I'm used to putting my foot in my mouth. I'm always that person who's, you know, saying something when they shouldn't be saying something. But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, lockdown's been so restrictive for us in so many ways that, between working our asses off, and then using the rest of the night to prep for the next day of working, and then maybe a little bit of Netflix in between. I'd say nothing terribly embarrassing. I'll tell you what I am embarrassed to admit, though, is we watched this thing on Netflix called, I can't remember what it's called. What silly dating game show thing.
Is it Love is Blind?
Love is Blind. It might be Showmax then. There was a dating game show where all the contestants get revealed from the toes up. You know, so there's one person standing, and I don't know why it's embarrassing to me. I'm embarrassed now that I've admitted that I've watched it. It was quite cringy, quite entertaining, but quite cringy. So maybe that's the most embarrassing thing that I've experienced in the last 5 months. Yeah, I mean, it's, yeah.
Give us an embarrassing stage story then.
All right, so
So many.
There are so many.
And again, I had none.
But I think my absolute worst would be, I was understudy to Roger in Rent, and Mimi sings this wonderful song about, you know, would you light my candle? And, you know, the whole song is literally about her coming in because the power's off and she's got a candle, and, you know, Roger keeps lighting her candle for her, and the song is about, ooh, the wax, and oh, it's burning, and would you light it again? And I can see your face in the, you know, in the light and all of that. But of course, being my first performance, I came on stage without matches. So that whole song, which is all about lighting her candle and all about this beautiful flame and the burning of the wax, nothing.
Anton just shrugged.
Nothing.
Poor Talia. It was Talia Kodesh.
Talia Kodesh, yeah.
And it's her birthday today, and she was like, she would say, would you like my candle? And Anton would just sort of shrug at her and just go,
yeah, I know, and, you know.
I don't know. I think they had to think very quickly on their feet.
Lots of oohs instead of, you know, the wax, it's burning, we're home. You know, and helping from the wings, you know, no one throwing on a box of matches or kicking on something or bringing a lip, you know, nothing like that. You know,
you must
suffer. So
well,
again,
we were all laughing in the wings. That's why we couldn't.
Yeah,
because we were all going like.
And again, so the importance of, you know, checking your props and having all those things ready and all those, you know. But yeah, so that was pretty embarrassing. And
I think my most embarrassing, this is going to sound silly because I think I was like 9 years old and I was in a sort of Anne Dram, Gilbert and Sullivan performance of The King and I back in my hometown, and they had used like this dance school to do the big Uncle Thomas's cabin, you know that whole story, yes. And I was playing Simon of Lickery, and I had as you do in a GNS production, I had like this cardboard cutout sword, you know, sort of like one-dimensional sword, and this whole build-up about here comes Simon, here comes Simon, and then I run and I do the big sort of aerial jump kick, and then I land, and for some reason my sword just snaps in half, and the whole dance is with the sword, and you're going around and you're killing people, and there's the dogs and so the whole dance with like a little stub of a sword, probably as big as my phone. But I was 9 years old. I remember the moment. I don't remember how I felt. I think I don't know. I must have been mortified. But yeah, anyway, that's all I have for you. I'm sorry.
You're too perfect.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you know, I'm a consummate professional. I'd like to think of myself as a consummate professional to a fault, though, you know, because I don't even like to like play those little games that people like to play on stage, or, you know, pass the coin or all those little things. I'm just like, no, that's not professional. So
yeah, I was trying very hard to think about Duane stuff-ups on stage, but it, you know, like I've run into set walls. I've pulled my fellow female cast members' wigs off with rings that are on my fingers. I mean, it's just, you know, you name it, I've done it. And of course, I'm such a corpser as well. So, you know, to try to get through stuff like that is just, it's impossible. But, you know, I was thinking of what I could nail Duane with the other day when someone was actually said, you know, what is your embarrassing stage moment? And, you know, he said, I don't have one. And I'm like, going through all Duane's shows to try and think of something that's happened.
I even managed to make it through 10 months or whatever of singing in the rain and not slipping on that very slippery pavement stage. So I don't know. I'm sorry. Sorry, there's like...
Professional.
Did you sign a deal with someone when you were a kid? Did you like call up the devil and be like, you know, yeah?
If I do, I think I got the raw end of the deal because I really should be like a lot more famous than I am if I'd sold my soul for it. But no, nothing that exciting. I just, maybe it's also selective memory. Maybe there's something really embarrassing and traumatic that I just don't remember it.
Locked out. So I've got one story for you before we close off. And actually want to tell you that my parents flew me up to Cape Town. Gosh, I don't even know what year it was, to watch Beauty and the Beast. And I absolutely fell in love. And that was the moment, I think, that I decided that this is what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And yeah, it's strange to say that you were part of that, essentially.
Same. So that's amazing. You know what? I think for me, and you will know this as well, but having such an inspiring level of tutorship and with your students, is that an experience like that can be an absolute game changer. And that's why I always say to Peter as well, what can we do to get more youngsters into the theatre? How can we afford to just bring a school in and just let them watch a matinee? Because sometimes that's all it takes, is that power of the stage and that experience that you obviously had doing Beauty as well is so powerful that it can literally make somebody go, well, that's all I want to do for the rest of my life, which is probably why lots of parents don't take their kids to the theatre. But realistically also, I mean, it's got to be one of the most beautiful productions. And it came at a time which was very sad for us because SARS broke out, very similar to COVID, and our entire tour of Beauty and the Beast was cancelled, our international tour. And so we had this really beautiful production. And again, ironically, Talia Kodesh was my belle. And, it's one of those roles that I look back on with not mixed emotions. Well, mixed emotions because one of my most difficult roles to do, to take an animated character like that is so beloved and to put it on a stage in a way where you're literally playing an animal and, it's very challenging, but at the same time, absolutely fell in love with that production. The music, everything about it was just absolutely beautiful. And the amount of people that come and tell me that very same story, that I saw Beauty and the Beast, I loved that production. The audiences just, I don't know, they fell in love with theatre. And I think there's something incredible about a production. I mean, Disney's famous for doing it, I guess. If you watch any of their productions, you just it's something that you just fall in love with. But that show in particular, it was just really, really special. So,
Yeah, I mean, it is a beautiful show. It's spectacular. I mean, it's hard work. I mean, for everyone from Beast, who has to spend like an hour in makeup before the rest of the cast even get into the building, it's, and all the way through, like everyone who plays any of those utensils or any of those characters, it's a hard show, but it is one of those ones that people say like, oh, one of my favorite shows I ever saw, that and probably maybe Jersey Boys now or Rent. There are a number of shows that people will always hold near and dear. But Beauty is one of them. And it's beautiful that it's also one of your like very profound, memories in your theatre life.
Yes. And good on your parents for sending you up to Cape Town to watch it. I mean, that's such a special story also for you. I can imagine you like, also the whole flying thing to Cape Town is like an all part and parcel of this experience. It's kind of like when you're a child and you remember the circus and just how insane, you remember everything about how massive that tent is to the smell of the circus and the act it went on. And then when you're an adult, you're like, what? This is what the tent looked like. Like things changed, but it just looks so pathetic,
less impressive.
So it's just amazing in a child how built up that experience must have been for you is what makes theatre so incredible.
Definitely. But I mean, now that you say that, I don't think I've ever had a moment now that I'm an adult where I've thought that theatre was icky, like a circus would be, It's just like the magic is there forever and ever. And we're just so, so excited to finally be able to go back to it one day soon, hopefully.
I mean, I don't like, it's maybe just like, sometimes you hear, oh, well, my husband doesn't come because he hates theatre, like he sleeps through the performance, and I guess there's sometimes people that just doesn't resonate with them.
I've got a story about that, and I'm actually so embarrassed to be telling you this, but my brother and my mother fell asleep on watching Chicago. And in fact, they fell asleep in Cats too. And one of the cats were, I mean, obviously you guys know they were in the audience, didn't even wake up. They were like, oh, okay.
clearly the theatre does not run as deep in their veins as it does in yours. But yeah, that's hysterical.
Just make sure they don't fall asleep in one of your shows.
Totally.
You know, because that's unforgivable.
Or did they fall asleep in Chicago and Cats abroad or over here?
Yeah, abroad. Abroad.
I mean, if in their defense, when you do go overseas, and we've been to New York quite recently actually, and you spend your days, it was my first time, so we were going to the Empire State Building and spending the hour in Central Park, and we were running around and going crazy and trying to meet friends, and we had appointments at certain universities and colleges there. By the time we came to watching our shows, we were exhausted. Exhausted. Dead. But of course, nothing's going to stop us from watching the show. I mean, that's part of the reason, most of the reason why we're there.
Duane will never forgive me once for falling asleep in Thoroughly Modern Millie in the West End. I mean, you spend like your credit card's buckling to pay for these tickets, but there's just something about that, call it jet lag, or call it the warmth of the theatre, or call it that you've just been so busy and you've got 3 hours sleep, that just makes you go,
well, you're in this little cold, dark, or dark environment, and you just think the perfect opportunity to have. Look, I had the similar kind of experience during Equus with Daniel Radcliffe. Yeah, I mean, stellar cast, and I was like, I love Equus, it's one of my favorite plays, and I was like so tired, I literally couldn't. I was doing this, I was taking the ice from my drink, and I was like splashing my face, like stay awake, but I just,
because it's a sin. I mean, look where you are, look who you're watching, and
So I'm going to let your mom and your brother have that and say that maybe they were just exhausted. It wasn't because they don't love theatre, it's just because it's tiring.
Thank you so much, guys. We had such a wonderful time with you. Thank you for being with us and for chatting with us. It was amazing. Thank you.
And look after yourselves, and congrats on everything you're doing. It's really exciting, and please do, because as you said, it's about what are you doing literally to keep yourselves going and inspiring people and getting people's stories out there, and especially what you do with youngsters. It's just fantastic. So congratulations, and keep going.
Sounds good to say, but like I'm proud of you guys. Like, it just sounds like what you have going is incredibly exciting and amazing, and it makes me want to go back and study further and just
me too. I'm so jealous of our students, I can't tell you. Like, mums have said, if they could go back and study, they would come and study at Lamta, because that we are. They're very happy and we're very happy, and it is a great place. We're very proud of it. But yeah, I'm sincerely jealous of our students. I think the opportunities that
Tim and I will nominate ourselves for the adult program that you start. So there you go.
Don't even think about it. Just come.
Thank you guys so much.
Lots of love, and we'll chat soon.
Thank you, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.